Last night I recorded a review of a UFC 225. I was scrapping it. It was 40 minutes long. There's a reason for that. Also, it was past 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was relatively drunk and really tired. The reason why the review was 40 fucking minutes long is because literally every goddamn fight, on the main card anyway, went to decision, and I think all but one or two of the undercard went to decision. I didn't order the Fight Pass fights. But the event was incredibly fucking long. So let's just try to run down like a fast rapid fire recap. Punk versus Jackson. I scored it 29-27. The judges scored it 30-26. I thought Punk actually kind of won the first round, but it was really true that Mike Jackson was just toying with him. Mike Jackson he just put a fucking beating on him. Beat his ass bloody. Beat his ass worse than Gall did, even though he didn't finish him. Probably because he didn't finish him, because he, toyed with him. I think Punk probably broke his nose in the first round. It looked like it was broken anyway, and it just seemed like he was in panic mode after that. I mean, Punk was doing shit on the ground where supposedly, according to the announcers, he was going to have the advantage that I wouldn't have done, okay? And I have like a yellow belt in jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's just not cut out to do this. It's just really bad. Arlovsky versus Tuivasa. I didn't write down what the fuck the judging scoring was. I know that Tuivasa won. It was a really close fight. I thought Arlovsky won. It was a bloody, gnarly fight. It looks like Ty broke his nose 10 times worse than Punk probably did. And he just kept coming. Dude had a chin endlessly. Endless chin. It was ridiculous. Andre looked sharper and faster than we've seen him in forever. Both had phenomenal cardio for heavyweights. Both looked still really sharp in pressuring in game, even late into round 3. And, I wish Arlovsky had won because he's been on a little bit of a comeback, but Ty's the up-and-coming guy, and Ty is that good. Holm versus Megan Anderson. This was a worse ass-beating than Jackson versus Punk. I scored it 30-24 for Holm. I don't remember what the fuck the actual scoring was. The shit I wrote down, all my notes were Holm wrestles the shit out of her. Holm has an amazingly good clinching ground game, and holy shit, Holm is vicious in top position. Fucking, who would have thought that against Megan Anderson, who's like 6 feet tall and looks like she cuts a bazillion pounds to make 145, like she's bigger than Cyborg. Who would have thought that Holly Holm, a renowned kickboxer, would grapple this bitch to death and make this former Invicta champion Megan Anderson look like she didn't deserve to be here. Wow. And I've been a Holm hater. She's prior to this fight, she won like one of her last 5 or something, and keeps getting fed title shots. She's protected better than fucking Conor McGregor, and I used to hate her for that. I used to think that she was a has-been, that she was a flash in the pan. No, her game is still evolving. She's pretty good, and to be fair, a lot of her losing efforts, like against Durandamy and Cyborg, I didn't order those pay-per-views. I didn't watch those fights. I was kind of talking out of my ass. Here's the good shit. RDA versus Colby. Now, if you guys watch my channel regularly, you will know how I feel politically, and you will know that I love Colby Covington. I love him because he's a cringy villain. I love him because he's a Trump supporter. And I love him because he makes casuals cry. Colby Covington, I knew since the first time I saw him fight, and I knew for certain when I saw him beat Damian Maia, that he is a very special talent. His cardio is greater than any fighter I have ever seen in my life. Greater than Dillashaw, greater than Faber, greater than fucking Cain Velasquez, greater than Carlos Condit, greater than fucking anybody has ever been. His cardio, I mean, he put on a round 5 against Rafael dos Anjos. Yeah, I always say it wrong. Colby put on a round 5 against Rafael dos Anjos that most welterweights couldn't put on in their first round, fresh. The man is unbelievable, and I'm glad to report that Colby was a minus 135 favorite going into this fight, and I still made money, baby, because I bet the farm on him. I made $50 in total because I knew he'd beat RDA. The only chance I gave RDA to win this fight was to a puncher's chance to knock him out, and he landed some shots which Colby Covington ate with milk and a little extra sugar on his cornflakes like breakfast, and wrestled the ever-loving shit out of him. And we're not just talking like takedown and lay and pray, because, you know, people talked mad shit about RDA after he lost because people are fucking casuals. Meanwhile, you know, before the fight, they were saying that RDA was going to slaughter Colby. They were wrong both times. RDA put up a really good fight, and he gassed before Colby, but even in round 4, round 4 was the only round I gave to RDA, he was still winging at Colby and still trying, and even took Colby down. However, Colby had constant cage pressure. He outstruck RDA, which is baffling since RDA is such a good boxer, but he was just so berserker pressure, like immediately went from 0 to RDA is slammed against the cage in 10 seconds every single time. Just fearless fighter's fighter, an unbelievably fucking talented wrestler, so good at control, and he beat the fucking shit out of RDA, and he was even dodging punches and ducking under things to get the perfect shots. He's just the Matrix. I mean, Colby Covington is one of my new favorite fighters, and I love that he said he was going to take the belt to the White House, and I love that he makes casuals cry. I love that he makes fucking progressive libtards cry, and I hope he will continue to make you cry for years to come. Already the hype train of Tyron's going to knock him out, and Tyron's going to expose him. No, Tyron isn't. Tyron has the same chance that RDA had, a puncher's chance. Tyron is not as good of a wrestler as Colby is. Tyron does not have as much cardio as Colby does. Tyron doesn't even have the same kind of confidence or the ability to sell a fight. Tyron isn't half the fighter that Colby Covington is. The only thing I would say that Tyron has that Colby doesn't is raw punching power and nothing else. So expect Colby to unify the belts and make you fucking casual fags cry for years to come. I'm very excited. Finally, we have Whitaker versus Romero. Potential fight of the year, despite the fucking longest, long card, you know, after 1 o'clock in the fucking morning, with Whitaker being the plus 250 favorite, or excuse me, minus 250 favorite to Romero's plus 195 underdog. You know, Whitaker impressed a lot of people, beating Romero virtually with one leg their first time fighting. And but the thing is, Whitaker's been injured and out since then, and Romero's been cleaning out the fucking division. So the other thing though is Romero's is 41. He had a very bad weight cut. However, the crazy thing is, walking into that cage, you would think a guy who barely missed weight, and maybe he got screwed with a little bit by the athletic commission, but Romero didn't make weight, period. Okay, he was paid to make weight on time. He didn't. They gave him a little extra time and then stopped him for whatever reason, doctor stoppage or whatever, from cutting weight any further. He was still 2 ounces over, wasn't eligible to win the belt. So everyone thought, oh, Yoel, who's known for having piss poor cardio, is screwed, right? Well, I will tell you that despite the brutal weight cut, Yoel Romero was as big and huge and muscly as I'd ever seen him. And not only that, Yoel had the best cardio and the best performance and management of his stamina that I've ever seen in his entire career. This was Yoel's night, and he lost. Now, he lost, I think, 3 rounds to 2 on all the judges' scorecards, or was it 2 of them? I forget. I think it was a split decision, actually. However, people were arguing about 10-8, this, that, and the other thing. I don't know. The new rules have more allowance for 10-8, but at the same time, they sort of changed the wording of scoring into more like devastating striking versus cumulative amount of strikes. So it actually changes the way striking scoring goes. And that's kind of hard to decide. Whitaker, even though he broke his fucking hand in the second round, early in the second round, outstruck the shit out of Yoel Romero, minus a limb once again, this time his right hand, and just beat the fucking shit out of Yoel. And with his jab alone, swelled Yoel's right eye shut like this. And the fact that the fight was never stopped due to the fact that Yoel couldn't fucking see is actually just a testament to the quality of the UFC cutmen and how good they are with hand swell. Because they would get his eye open just a little bit for the start of the round, and then Whitaker would shut that sucker down with left hands. But the thing is, Yoel looked great. He didn't really have any success wrestling. In fact, I don't even remember if Yoel got any takedowns. He got some knockdowns. We'll get to that. But I gave the first 2 rounds to Whitaker, and then I gave the last 3 to Romero because, round 3, though, was just really very easily probably makes sense that it went to Whitaker because he outstruck Yoel and wasn't really getting pressured. It was more that like Yoel was doing crazy amounts of damage. In round 4 and round 5, he dropped Whitaker with huge punches that would have just knocked the fuck out lesser men. Whitaker is one of the toughest guys in the entire UFC. I mean, he's like Mark Hunt level tough. And, at the much younger age as he is, he's like the second coming of Mark Hunt's chin. Like, he just ate everything. And his cardio is as impressive almost as Colby Covington's. I mean, he started to gasp because he had Yoel just pounding the shit out of him for almost 2 straight rounds. There's a reason why Robert Whitaker has pretty much the best takedown defense in the UFC because nobody can fucking take him down. It's ridiculous. And Romero probably put on as good of a round 5 as he did is because he got to take a whole 5 minutes off because Whitaker unfortunately gave him a teep kick to the cup, kicked him right in the balls there, and Romero took just about almost every single minute of the 5 minutes he was allotted. It was just made the night so fucking long. That's pretty much the main card. Since I got this done so much more succinctly while sober, I could mention Curtis Blades, Curtis Razor Blades, who I would prefer to call Curtis the Butcher Blades, embarrassed a Alistair the Demolition Man Overeem, who's very much in decline. Alistair seemed determined to pull some kind of pull counter strategy. Basically came in with his hands down and really wide stance and was just looking to, I guess, counter-strike Blades, and Blades just wasn't biting. The first round was uneventful. The second round was largely uneventful, but Blades got a takedown. Round 3, Blades got a takedown, and it looked like Blades was just going to get a lay-and-pray style decision, and it was all Alistair's fault for not engaging, and then Blades showed why he's number 4 in the world. He got position in, Alistair's guard and gave him some of these overhead elbows. Now, since I'm skinny, you can see my elbows are really sharp. Curtis Blades is 255 pounds. He outweighs Alistair Overeem, who's huge, by 10 pounds. And his elbows are blunt, like a mace. And it was almost like a video game. You ever seen one of those video games where there's like a blood effect and it just happens on an instant trigger? Like the UFC video games where it's like no blood and now there's a lot of blood. The UFC is even more, the video game is even more realistic than this fight because it was like one elbow he's fine, one elbow he's unconscious, and his entire face is a sheet of blood. And there was 2 more elbows after that. So Alistair's probably spending the night in the hospital. He got the grossest cut KO I've fucking ever seen. It was horrible. Yeah, I feel bad for Ricardo Lamas. That's the other fight I kind of remember from the prelims. They were, I didn't really know a lot of who was or what was fighting, and I was bored like with Claudia Gadelha and Carla Esparza. I was rooting for Gadelha, and I actually thought Esparza won, but the judges didn't see it that way. And actually the only other fight I bet money on is because I thought the Vegas odds were disrespecting Ricardo Lamas. Ricardo Lamas is a legend in the featherweight division, and I really thought he was going to bounce back really well from that knockout to Josh Emmett and take this Mirsad Bektic guy to the woodshed. Well, I didn't do my homework on Mirsad Bektic, and Mirsad beat Ricardo at his own game, which is just persistent wrestling, and pretty much smoked Lamas all the way through the fight. And it was like almost like a passing of a torch thing, and Lamas I think had a lot of nerves, and he got settled in later into the fight, but ultimately, hello Astor, that's my dog opening my door. He got settled into the fight, but it was too little too late. Mirsad is very strong, very big and very strong for the featherweight division, and just bullied Lamas, who's not a small nor a weak featherweight. And then that's basically it in 15 minutes. I do recommend it, but dear God, it's a slog. It is a real slog to watch live. Almost every single fight went to decision, and even that horrible knockout I described to you, the feature prelim, Curtis Blades, that was in the last 10 seconds of a 5-minute round fight. It was hard to watch, and yet I didn't regret it, and I was not bored. I was just exhausted. That CM Punk fight was just, you wanted to root for the guy. It was like a Rocky story. But he got beat so bad, it was probably so demoralizing that the crowd really didn't jump back into the fight until like the Holly Holm, fight later. Like everyone was just kind of sucked out of it. Or actually, excuse me, after the Holly Holm thing. Like they didn't get into the fight until like the Colby fight in the second round where they were screaming Colby sucks. And I'm like, y'all are marks. Y'all are WWE fans. I don't even give a shit, dude. I don't even give a shit about like a Tyron, the race card Woodley being a baby liberal race baiter, bitch. I think he's really talented, and I also don't really care that Colby Covington is a rude, aggressive, trash talking, super conservative Trump supporter. I like them both for their talent, and Colby is the more talented one, hands down. We'll see coming up. Thanks for watching.